Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another thing where I talk to you about things and so forth and so on, kind of a late, everything is late, because as I was driving Alan to work yesterday, my car broke down. It broke down on the side of the highway. I had to get a tow truck, and so I wound up sitting around in the cold. Someone picked the balance, someone else picked the balance, drove out, and yes, it is a Mazda 3, which is a nice car. Some of you guys might recognize. It was kind of a gift. Technically I bought it from my dad, but just at a really cheap price. He sold it to me for $2,000. And that's really good for a Mazda 3, but he's had it for a while, and so it's got close to 100,000 miles on it, and it's cost me about $3,000 in maintenance so far. It's had lots of problems. Its tires had inflation issues, and so I've had I've had two tires go out on me. They're all being replaced now. That's what happened this time. Is I had another tire go out, and I was like, "Can I replace this tire?" No, these tires are locked to the wheel, so I was like, "Where's the wheel unlocking thing?" And they were like, "It should be in the glove box." And I said, "It's not in the glove box. It's not in there." So yes, I couldn't get the spare tire on there, and so there's no choice but to tow it down to the shop, and I'll get that fixed. And they're expensive though. It's a sports car. It's one of those things that's sort of like. It's why if you don't have a lot of income, like even if you could get your hands on something like a kind of a sporty little car, it's not necessarily a good idea, because this car has been very expensive to maintain, especially because it's getting older. And I've read mixed reviews. Some people say that this car is due to die very soon, like they say it's only got about a lifespan of 120,000 miles, and then they figure it's going to go out and die. Other people say that they can go for quite a while, but it varies, and so I don't know. I just know that I've spent $3,000 in maintenance. I had the alternator died, the catalytic converter died, I had headlights go out, and then of course there was the registration fees aside from all that, and it has been an expensive vehicle. But there was money in Patreon that comes in at the end of the first week of the month, and so that'll pay for my tires for the time being. And it's a little bit like borrowing from the company, kind of, in a way, because half of that money does go to Petter. But we're bringing in enough because of Bittersweet. We're bringing in a fair amount of money for this and next month, and or rather last month, whatever. We get paid not exactly in the month that we get the money. So the point is that I'm fine. I'm fine for this month. A little disappointed. I would really love to just have one month where I don't have any kind of emergency spending, but not so fortunate. But anyway, though. That said, I do have some happy news, as I'm going out to Denmark in the dead of winter. It's gonna be freezing, because I've been to Sweden once to see Kenza, and it was freezing then as well. But I'm going out there. I'm gonna spend a week with her. I'm gonna introduce myself to her parents. I'm gonna say I would like to marry your daughter. I apologize, but she was gonna run off with a guy eventually, probably, and can't use men are. So that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna go out and see Kenza, and so I'm really looking forward to that. She's been working really hard to get all of her schoolwork set aside and everything, so we can kind of enjoy a nice week-long vacation together. That said, I am gonna try and get some stuff online before I leave. I'm gonna try and finish up Pony Fantasy tonight, and maybe get that online tonight. This video will take way longer to render and upload than Pony Fantasy, and Pony Fantasy is almost done. I was actually have just a few more minutes left to record. Everything else is finished. It's just that I got sidetracked by my car breaking down on the highway. So yeah, and this video, and I didn't have time by the time I got home at night. We have quiet hours. So yeah, that's news. Oh, there's a little bit more news. I have heard some whispers from the dark recesses of the internet, which is any place owned by Google, it seems like these days, that apparently Google is going to start maybe doing additional rights requests on videos owned by people who are part of networks. This might be something that happens. They're saying that they might do it. I don't know if they will. I do know that if you guys are not aware from the Google Plus messaging thing, that Google does not care about dissent from the people who use their services, so they're just going to do whatever they want, and it's their opinion that everyone else can just kind of deal with it. But the additional rights requests, basically what they are, is Google will randomly flag your video, and they will say, we want you to prove that you own this. But it's actually not that. What they tell you is, prove that you haven't stolen this video, which is a negative. That's like, say, prove there is no Bigfoot. You can cite like a lack of evidence, but a lack of evidence is not really evidence. As they say, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. So you can't really respond to these questions in the first place. But to compound things and to make it even worse, if the system isn't automated, then it's most certainly handled by people who don't know anything about copyright law. And so you get these requests, and they tell us, like, prove that you own this video. And I read complaints from people who spend like hundreds of dollars on licensing and on getting their stuff filed with the U.S. Copyright Office and everything else because they get so sick of these requests and they still get denied. Because it's just like a guy in India, and he's working for like $1 an hour, and he just kind of like, reads through here's all this paperwork, and he goes, I'm not reading that. Denied. We lost Haunting Nightmare to this program, and actually that's why we joined up with the network. Is the network provides us some boost in advertising. It also gets us some advantages in terms of promotion. In fact, we got some extra promotion when we launched Bittersweet for about 2 months. It actually just dropped off. I was a little disappointed. I was like, wow, we're doing really good. And then we just had a sudden like steep drop. It's not too steep, but it's like a third. It was like a third of our viewers because we're getting a ton of new viewers, I think. Anyway, that was too bad. I was really hoping that was going to be a sustained thing, but it dropped off. We got the promotion. We got the bump, the promotional bump, and then it goes away. But anyway, so there's some advantages to the network, but more than anything, it provided us with stability. There is a drawback. There's a 40%. I mean, like, there's a 40% cut unless you get negotiated to a slightly different deal. In fact, you know what? I will throw this up there. I told them I would wait for a little while, but if you guys are considering joining a network, it's not something. It's a contract, and it's a year-long contract. So I mean, like, think really carefully about it. But I'll put up a link. The reason I do this, the reason I put up a link, is because we are contracted that if we refer people, then we get like a commission. So it's good for me to refer people. But as I do so, I should do so with a very extreme caution. Just like I say, it's a legal agreement. And if you've never been screwed by a contract before, I encourage you, do not sign any contract you ever find on YouTube. If anyone from a network ever approaches you and says, hey, sign this contract, don't do it. We did a ton of research before we signed on with N4GTV. So, like I said, I put this link up because it's kind of beneficial to us, but I do so with the expressed concern that don't follow the link if you're not like do a ton of research. Don't do this. It's good for us, for me to refer you, but yeah, caution, very cautious. So yeah, that said though, N4GTV has been good for us though. The guys, they've been helpful with us. They keep us in touch with the news. They tell me about local politics. They tell me about what's going on with like the networks. They tell me what is Maker doing. They tell me they got me some insight on the whole thing with Nintendo and some of the other stuff. So it's been good. They've got a forum. I mean, you can talk to people. You can talk to them. They're a smaller network, and I'm kind of happy with the fact that we signed on with them. But like I said, you never know. There are, speaking of networks, I mean, like Machinima used to do contracts that lasted in perpetuity, and like I said, like a legally binding contract like that, like once you sign up, that is a life contract in perpetuity. You do not get out of that. I mean, technically it's an unconscionable clause, which means that you should be able to get out of it, but you have to go to court to escape it. And that, you have to ask yourself, like, if you're a YouTube celebrity, do you have enough money to go to court and ever free your account, like ever? The answer is no. And Machinima Network knew this, and that's why they were doing these kind of things. And that's why I say, like I said, we've experienced pretty well with N4GTV, and that's why I say, if you're interested, you can follow the link. But I certainly don't want to just say like, oh yeah, everyone should do this. This is a great deal. It's a business decision. Don't contract with anyone or anything unless you like are thinking kind of seriously. So yeah, so it's just a network to look into, to investigate, and to think like whether or not you want to do that sort of thing. Like I say, we get permission for recommending. So we have the incentive, and that is my angle. So I'm biased. Yeah, but anyway. So that is the news. That is the news, and a pitch with a huge disclaimer because I like you guys, and I don't ever want to business recommendations. God, YouTube is so shady when it comes to actual business sometimes. But yeah. Anyway though, so Children of the Sandler, Chapter 2. chapter 1 it concluded, and I didn't really know a whole lot that was going on about it because I was excused from the room. But from what I understand, Iggy was exiled to the Tower of Insanity after he defeated the great evil, whatever that was. Apparently it was because he disobeyed God and didn't do a very good job as God's servant. So God thought that this was appropriate. No one else got credit except for Sandler's NPCs and Sandler himself. Sandler got an amazing award. He had time refabricated to make him a better person, or a more happy person. Essentially what he got was his own floating island. He got Sandler Island. And that was just a terrible place. It was like the ultimate realization of wealth disparity. Like, everyone except for Sandler and his NPCs were living in debt. I mean, like, anyone who was just a regular person. And it was one of those things that was like a utopian society. Like, somehow the fact that some people had literally all the money. It wasn't even just like 1% has 60% of the money. It was like Sandler has 100% of the money, and everyone else is in debt to him. He has like 200% of the money. Despite that, the city worked perfectly, and everyone was more happy than they could ever be because it was full of technological advances that you would never even dream of. They had working robots and da-da-da-da-da. It was insane. So Sandler used his incredible wealth to hire a brand new team of people, and he told us, he baited us in. He says, the first chapter is over, guys, and I'm starting again a new chapter with a slightly different dimension, and I've established some new rules to make sure that everything is more fun and more fair, and you guys have a better time. So everyone come back. And a bunch of us came back, but Mindy the Elf said no. Mindy the Elf said she was done, she was tired of it, she didn't want to come back. So we lost our only girl, which if you travel in gaming circles, sometimes it's not so bad, but sometimes it's very bad. But in this case, I mean, like, it's okay. Mindy had reasons not to come back, as some of you have been like, why didn't you just quit this game? But anyway, so, yes, Mindy didn't come back, but we got back Grover, and Iggy became Cat. He took over an NPC that Sandler had designed, because Sandler designed all these NPCs, and he's like, I'll be hiring these people. Do you guys want to be any of these characters? And most of us said no, because we want to make our own characters. But Iggy knew that Sandler's NPCs were always going to be stronger, faster, more intelligent, and better respected than any of the player characters. So he goes, okay, yeah. I'll play this cat guy. And he was a cat burglar. It was a joke. His name was Cat. And he goes, okay, I'll play Cat the cat burglar. And then I played a half-elf, half-banflet. And this was exploiting Sandler's new hybrid species rules that he had invented. And what this was is because Sandler decided that his character needed to marry a cat woman named Aisha. As in Aisha Clan from Outlaw Star, which, if you're not familiar with, was a belligerent, dark-skinned cat woman who screamed. She could only speak by screaming, fundamentally, and she was completely retarded. So, Aisha Clan. Sandler falls in love with Aisha Clan, and they have babies. And so Sandler invented these rules for hybrid species children, even though in Children of the Sun, cat people were like full-blown, hair all over their faces. They weren't even like very human at all. Like, if you look at the artwork, they were very cat-like. Like, it was not even what you would call like a furry sort of thing. It wasn't like someone had decided to like draw people, but with cat features. It was like, these are cats that walk on two legs. Like these like look like jaguars kind of thing. Like these are not like, they're humanoid somewhat, but not really. They weren't drawn to be like to be loved gently. So, except by each other, of course, because they would find each other attractive, naturally speaking. The bear men were like that too, and so were the wolf men. I mean, like, the wolf men were just like great big dogs. Like, they were just, like I said, it was like Imagine King. They're like gorillas, like they're about as sexy as gorillas. Like, you couldn't. It was one of those things. You're just like, these are not for your sex appeal. But for whatever reason, though, Sandler decided that he was just going to marry Aisha, this cat woman who was totally unappealing, animal monstrosity type of creature, and yeah. So, hybridization rules. Also, Kilala was pregnant, and I think that Sandler decided this because Grover had spent so much time trying to get her knocked up and trying to ruin her life that eventually he just conceded and said, okay, fine, Kilala is pregnant. So, yes. Grover did come back as well, I think I said that. Rummy, who appeared early on and then left for most of the game, he came back, and he was back for a little while. His character died a lot, and so I'm just going to call him Rummy, because I can't remember what his name was. I can't remember what he played most of the time, but I know that he died frequently. And yes, so away we began on our journey, and we went out into the desert riding elephants. And so on our way out on the desert, Sandler pulls out his dice and he starts rolling. And it turns out that what he's done is he's created a random encounter table. And that's like in a video game RPG, when you're wandering around in the overworld, you get attacked by monsters, and you have a monster battle, and you get experience. And in fact, Sandler had created a system where every time you injured a creature, or you caused a wound on it, then you gained 1 experience point. He'd also added another rule that if you did something wrong, like if you hurt someone who was friendly or neutral, or if you stole from someone, or if you burned down a building, or if you did anything evil, any of the things that made Iggy laugh so very, very much, you would lose 1 point of experience. And he told us that if you made a base character, like you were level 1, you had no experience whatsoever, he would send you into negative experience, which would require you to look at your skills and figure out how many points you would have to, like, he would make you erase base starting skills. So, like, you could eventually, if you were evil enough, your character would forget English, because English was the skill. Speaking English was the skill. So you would just lose all your experience, and then you just have to erase English from your character sheet because you didn't know English anymore. So you would forget how to read. It was a gradual step-by-step process. You started at 5 and you worked your way down to 0. So you started off and you just forgot how to read, and then you couldn't speak, and then you couldn't even understand simple like yes, no, where's the bathroom kind of things. So yeah, gradually it killed your character through atrophy. It was such a bizarre idea that he had. But anyway, though, it worked, and it also completely invalidated Cat the Cat Burglar, because his entire skill set revolved around stealing. But as it turned out, Sandler never invented anything for us to steal. He just made us fight like brainless monsters all the time, and so there was never any stealing or sneaking or anything else, because nothing was ever actively looking for a cat burglar, or trying to keep a cat burglar out. And it was a very social game anyway. I mean, you weren't supposed to really be fighting monsters all the time. It was not a dungeon crawler sort of system. It was supposed to be between people. And that was the fundamental problem with the random encounter table. Because what Sandler had done is he'd looked through the book, and he'd added every monster in the book to the table, and then realized that he didn't have very many monsters, because the book didn't include a lot of monsters, because you weren't supposed to spend very much time fighting monsters. It talked a lot about the demons, and this they actually said in the book. They said, if you want to do some dungeon crawling, go to Lycerial and fight the demons. Here are the demons, here are what they do, but it didn't make sense to have demons all over the world, because they were isolated mostly to Lycerial, where all the demons lived. So Sandler couldn't use the demons for normal engagements, and so he created a whole bunch of things like sandworms and flying sharks. And flying sharks were more dangerous than any demon on Lycerial that you could have possibly run into, because Sandler wanted them to be strong enough to threaten battle cruisers. So flying shark would just show up and it would devour a battle cruiser, and Sandler thought that this was an awesome monster idea. It was like a dragon, only stupider. And so, yes, flying sharks, we ran into several of them, in fact, and they almost always wrecked everything. So, yeah, the first thing that we ran into, though, is Sandler rolled up spiders, giant spiders. And these were from the book, but these spiders were supposed to be lone hunters. I mean, like, you're supposed to wander into their web and then get trapped, and then the entire struggle would be trying to get away from the spiders. It was kind of like a Bilbo Baggins sort of thing. I mean, you get trapped in the spider's lair, and then you want to escape naturally. You don't fight off a horde of 20 spiders. However, Sandler rolled spiders, and then he rolled how many spiders, and sure enough, we got like 20 spiders. So 20 spiders show up, and they're all really strong because they're meant to handle a group of people by themselves, and the party doesn't know this for sure. So we start trying to defend ourselves, and at this point Grover has already gone to work because it took us a little while to kind of get out there. And so we start fighting, and everyone we quickly realize that we cannot defeat these spiders, and they're poisonous because people are getting bitten, and then Sandler's making us roll for paralysis. And we say, "Oh my god, this is terrible. Let's run. Let's just run away. Let's get everyone back up on the elephants, and let's run as fast as we can away from this thing." And so we start to herd everyone back onto their mounts and onto their things. We're just trying to get everyone moving so they don't get mauled to death by the spiders. And then Grover, through Sandler takes over Grover, and he goes, "No, I think I can take him." And we say, "Grover, no, you can't do it." Sandler, "No, don't do this. Grover can't do it." And Sandler goes, "Yeah, Grover's gonna be great. Grover's a great combat character. Like, you guys just don't. You're just overestimating these spiders." So he runs Grover up into the middle of the pack of the spiders, hoping that we'll follow to try and rescue Grover, even though we have already identified that we are way in over our heads. And so Grover gets gang stinged by these spiders. Just he gets a pack of them, just leap on him, and they all start stinging him to death. And he goes down, just unconscious, like spit bubbles out of his mouth. And we're like, I don't think you survived being bitten that much by a giant spider. And so they start to wrap him up in silk and drag him off. And Sandler's like, there he goes. You guys should go save him. And we're like, he's gone. He's gone, Sandler. We have to go. And so yes, that was it. Grover died. Grover died again. And so Grover came back, and of course he was naturally pissed. So he goes, okay, I'm taking over Keelala again. So he gets up, so he's up there on this, he's pregnant, right? And he's actually riding with this boyfriend that apparently it's not the father, because Keelala's been promiscuous and spending a lot of time in all these seedy bars and everything like that. But anyway, though, she's got a new boyfriend who's like decided that he's gonna help her and watch over the baby and everything like that. So Grover just turns around and just shoves the guy off the elephant. And so he falls and he like breaks his leg, and then Sandler tries to salvage it. He goes, don't do that. Like, that's her boyfriend. And Grover's like, yeah, well, I need my space. I need space. And so like Sandler tries to make it seem like, oh well, he's a really nice boyfriend. He gets back up on the elephant, but then he backs up away from you. You know, he gives you your space. And so then Grover started to fight with him. She started to complain. He goes, why aren't you sitting closer to me? And he's like, I thought you needed space. And she's like, just because I say I need space doesn't mean I need space. What I really need is to be comforted. I'm having mood swings. I'm pregnant. And so the guy comes back over and he tries to give her a hug. And then Grover pushes him off the elephant again. And this time it kills him. And so Grover's just, and so it's just one of those things. Like Grover was just, I'm glad. I said, I'm happy I did that. I don't care. I don't even care anymore. And that was actually Grover quit showing up to games after that. He was tired. He killed Keelala's boyfriend and then just quit showing up. He was like done. He goes, I have not been able to play my character more than like 2 hours in a single day. And every time I come back, my character is dead. And actually, I think that wasn't the last straw. I think what happened was that when he came back right in front of Sandler, he just erased the name on his character sheet and added a new name. And at that point, Sandler realized that he'd been adding experience to his character so that his character would get stronger as the rest of us leveled up so that he could keep up. Because it was never his fault that he lost his character. It really wasn't fair. It was totally valid that Grover kept doing this. But Sandler noticed that he was adding the experience to his sheet, and he stopped him. And he goes, Grover, you can't do that. Your character's dead. And Grover said, yes, I can do that. You keep killing my character. And Sandler told him, no, you have to make a brand new character. Like, I don't care that you're erasing the name, but you can't keep all your experience and skills and everything. And so I think that's when Grover just quit playing. He goes, I'm done. He goes, I'm just finished. Like, if this is how it's going to be, I'm done. You can't just kill my character and make me start over every single game. I'm done. So Grover was done. He quit playing. But anyway, though, so that is where I will wrap it up for now. I'm going to try and get back to work on Pony Fantasy and some of the other stuff that I can try and get done before it gets too late tonight. Yes, this will probably get up after Pony Fantasy, provided that I can get done with Pony Fantasy fast enough, because this takes a whole lot longer to render and get online. But anyway, though, I will talk to you guys later.